If you think investors care most about returns, you are already losing the room. Not because returns are irrelevant, but because the moment you believe returns are the main leverage, you start convincing, proving, pitching. And when you shift into proving mode, their nervous system shifts into protection mode. And protection mode does not write checks. You don't just lose that deal, but future deals, referrals. You lose quiet, credibility in rooms you didn't even know you're being evaluated in. Investors' networks are small. Energy gets remembered. I have watched this happen more times than I can count. Someone walks in with spreadsheets, projections, internal rates of returns memorized like it's a final exam. And within 3 minutes, the room goes cold. Their voice, it speeds up, they over-explain, they answer questions no one asks. Have you ever felt that? That subtle urgency to prove you belong, to prove the deal is good, to prove you're capable. That's not a returns problem. That's a conviction gap. And conviction gaps are expensive because investors rarely tell you why they passed. They just say, keep me posted, which is mean you walk away thinking it was the numbers when it was your energy. And that misdiagnosis can keep you stuck for years. Most people think if I show strong returns, they will invest. No, investors don't fund spreadsheets first. They fund certainty. And certainty leaks through your language, through your pacing, through how you hold silence. Before they evaluate your numbers, they evaluate you. Today, I'm walking you through things you should never say to an investor and what to say instead. Not to script you, but to reveal what your words are unconsciously signaling. Because every sentence either communicates I am leading or I am hoping. And when you shift this, you won't just sound different. You will feel different. You will enter rooms differently. And capital follows the person who feels inevitable. So let's recalibrate something. Returns are relevant, but they are not the primary driver of capital decisions. If they were, every high return deal would get funded, and they don't because investors evaluate in layers. The layer number one is, do I trust this person to navigate the pressure? The layer number two is, do I feel emotionally safe wiring money to them? And then number three, does this opportunity align with my pattern of winning? Returns are downstreams. When you lead with returns first, you unconsciously signal, I believe I am interchangeable. And interchangeable people compete on numbers. Leaders compete on conviction. And if you compete on numbers alone, you will always lose to someone louder, more aggressive, or willing to promise more. There's always someone willing to stretch projections further than you. If numbers are your only leverage, you are building on unstable ground. Which one have been you doing? Let's go with mistake number one. You open. This deal has a 7% internal rate return. You think you're being impressive. No. You're telling them my value lives in the spreadsheet. Instead, say this. Here's why this opportunity makes a strategic sense in this market cycle. One chases applause, the other one leads with context. So have you noticed how fast you jump into numbers? And that speed is not confidence. It's anxiety disguised as expertise. And if the first thing you communicate is performance, you invite comparison. And comparison is not where you win. Here's mistake number two. Would you maybe be interested in looking at this? That tone? No. It sounds like you are asking someone to try your gluten-free muffin recipe. Will you maybe be interested? No one has ever wired $250,000 because someone maybe sounded adorable. Investors don't fund adorable, they fund decisive. That sentence is seeking permission. Instead, I am bringing this to you because it aligns with how you have invested before. One has to be considered, one assume alignment and leads. Which energy would you rather follow? Mistake number three, speeding up when challenged. They question your assumptions. Your breathing changes, your words are stacked, you start explaining in paragraph. That is your nervous system negotiating for approval. Investors test composer. If your pace increases, your authority decreases. And once authority drops in a conversation, it rarely recovers. You cannot talk your way back into presence. That moment decides who is leading for the rest of the meeting. It's very hard. But instead, I want you to pause, one breath, short answer, then silence. Silence communicates and not threaten. If silence makes you uncomfortable, that's not a communication problem. That's an internal certainty problem. If you're realizing that maybe you have been trying to impress instead of position, because if you don't fix this, you will keep thinking you need better returns, more leads, better pitch decks, better branding, when the real issue was internal. And that's how people spend 5 years preparing to raise capital instead of leading it. There's another issue most people ignore. They're pitching in rooms that were never aligned to begin with. Conviction in the wrong room still doesn't convert. If you don't know where aligned private investors are actually gathering in this market, I invite you to download my report. The top places to find private investors. In other words, why access is easy and conversion is the real skill. It breaks down where serious capital is positioned right now. So get it below in the link below and then come back to this. Now let's talk about something most people fake: borrowing confidence. You start name dropping, over leveraging partners, trying to sound bigger than what you are. There was a season where I was underwriting deals brilliantly, raising capital successfully, but I was hiding behind operators in conversations. And one day I realized something very uncomfortable. If I have to borrow authority, I don't believe I have. And investors can feel borrow confident instantly. It makes you sound temporary, not durable. And capital does not partner with temporary leaders. And that was the shift, not on my results, in my identity. And now I say I lead this calmly, without volume. I made a commitment to myself that I will install confidence, that I don't borrow. And that shift alone changes how capital responds. There are also phrases that instantly signal amateur positioning, and I will break those down in another video. The thing is, if you have been told investors care most about returns, you have been trained to compete where you are the weakest, because there will be always a higher internal rate of return. There's always someone on the internet claiming 23% with very conservative underwriting. We all know that guy, but they will not always be your leadership. Numbers fluctuate, market shift, cycles turn, but your internal posture, that compounds. And if you don't build conviction now, you will always feel like you are one bad deal away from being exposed. Investors evaluate numbers last. They evaluate steadiness first. And when these clicks, you stop pitching, chasing capital, hoping, deciding. You become durable and you become inevitable. And you become the kind of leader capital follows. If this shifted how you see investors' conversations, I want you to watch the next video, because conviction is the leverage most people never build.